Hi everybody, welcome to another little tutorial. Today we're going to have a play with a couple of new stamps. Now they're launching on the Lavinia website on the 4th of October. And this is the piece that we're going to do. Well, you know what I'm like, create something similar. We've got a couple of the new stamps, the gorgeous mushrooms here, and look at this beast, isn't he gorgeous? I'm going to mix some of the new stamps with some of our stamps that are already available, because I do think that's the beauty of all these. Because they're hand drawn by Tracy, it's all in a mind that the family of stamps all work well together. So obviously it's always nice to buy a couple of new stamps and then add them to what you've already got. So like I say, this is the piece we're aiming to create. Now today we're going to start with our gel press, which is just on the floor. I'm going to be using the 5x7. As you know, I like to pop it on an acrylic mount. It just works better for me that way. I'm going to be using Billy Brayer. He's so excited he's coming out to play again. He's been out a lot recently. I'm using the Multifarious card, and I've got a piece of card to clean my brayer on. I do love to do this because from the makeup, I like to, well, obviously make something. So just impromptu, if I can just show you an example. So, for instance, wasn't intending doing this, but here we go. So this card here used the gel press, and when I put the ink on the gel press, the circular one, I used the brayer. Now when I cleaned the brayer on my piece of card, this is what I made from the piece of card. So I do love to do this. As you can see, you have got areas of where the brayer gave lines because I'm just cleaning it. But you know what? For a background, it really doesn't matter. It can add to your card. I adore doing this. I end up with piles and piles. So here we go. Here's one of my cleanups. Now, I don't know about you, but I can see a city here, a landscape, ready. Maybe the dragons flying over, maybe the castle. Bit of Roaring Darcy, some undergrowth. I just think it's a brilliant thing to do. Why waste it? Why clean your brayer on copy paper when you've got yourself another background? So let's start. I'm going to use the colour box inks. A few people have asked why the colour box, and again, just to reiterate, they have got a high pigment and a low water content, and that just means you've less chance of beading, and so they will blend on your gel press. Obviously, things like distressing, the oxides, they've got a higher water content and they will bead. This quite often is the technique we're looking for. It's the effect we're looking for. So that's fine. But sometimes we want it a little bit more smooth. And so that's why the colour box works well. You don't just have to use them on your gel press. I ink with them. I'm going to blend them today around the edges. I pop them on my mat, add water and watercolour with them. So lots of things you can do with them, not just for the gel press. I'm going to use a different colour today than what I would normally add. I'm going to add some grape. I just wanted, on the finished one, if you can see, sometimes when we're making designs, we have to put layers in that aren't obvious to the viewer when they first look. Now, the purple is here. And it's sort of a pale purple. It's not an in-your-face purple, but I just wanted that sort of, I wanted a bit of a light look here. I wanted an earthy look here and a mysterious sort of purpley look here. Again, that's the idea I've got in mind. And it's all about building the layers up. The bits I'm going to do, you don't necessarily see them. I can't speak. Necessarily see them when you first look, but they are there. And part of the beauty for me of card making and building up these, what I think are stories. I mean, there's a story here. Well, there is to me. It's building up those layers and getting that end result. So, back to it. We're going to use the grape, which is the light purpley colour. And then we're going to use this leather. Bit of a favourite at the minute, this really dark brown. And we're going to use some mustard. So I'm going to start and I'm going to add, the plan in my mind is to have the mustard in the middle. So on with the brayer, and then I'm just going to brayer mustard across the middle. I'm not covering the whole of my gel press because there's no need. I only need it in the middle. And then pop that to one side and clean the brayer on my scrap card. Don't know if you can see that. Next, I'm going to bring the grape, the purpley colour. Again, I'm only adding the ink to part of my brayer here, and I'm just going to brayer the grape at the top. I just want the purpley colour the top of my design. So I can put the grape to one side, and again, clean on that scrap. What I'm going to do now is turn my gel press round, just because for me, I find it easy working top down. Again, if you can do it the other way, by all means do. I'm afraid I just have to do things that I find easier for me. Now this, I'm going to add up to sort of where the yellowy is, just as I would normally. But then I want to almost add some landscaping. So I'm just going to use my brayer and just sort of dot about a bit like this. Just in my mind, that's my little bit of landscaping. Pop that to one side, and then on here, I clean up, and there we go, another background to use. What I'm going to do now, I want to turn it round, just because in my head, this is, for me, that's going to be the top of my design, the landscapes at the bottom. And I'm going to bring in a piece of bubble wrap, and this is just to add a little bit more detail into the background. And just every so often, I'm just going to pick up a couple of the little bubbles from the bubble wrap. Oh, popped one there. You may see them in the end result, you may not, but it's that detail we're looking for in the background. And then I'm going to get my fan brush, and I just want to add a little bit of water, not too much. So I'm just going to pat. I'm not adding brush shows this time. I know I've done little tutorials where we add brush shows. This one, I'm just going for water. And let's see what we get. So where did I put my card? I have got a piece cut to size. And as you know, me being me, I like to take the gel press to the card, and I'm just going to line it up, and let's see what we get. As you know, you never know exactly what you're going to get. You can have a rough idea, but that's the beauty of making these backgrounds, and however it turns out, that's how we want it. So peel that off. Yeah. That's lovely. I like that. And if you notice, the bubble wrap, I don't know if you can see, is just in little areas here, here, here. Can you see? And to me, that's just adding a little bit more detail in the background, just adding more interest. People have been asking recently about cleaning the gel press. For me, I tend to use copy paper. So, for example, for this, if I was going to put this away now, I would just get a piece of copy paper, give it a good clean, take off the residue, and that's all I do. I'm afraid it's a bit like stamps. If you clean them too much, you can almost, it's the gel press, you can dry it out. If it gets really bad, I would soak it in warm soapy water. But the problem is, as I say, if you do it too often, for me, that's clean enough, that will go away now. If you do it too often, you do run the risk of drying it out. And then, ladies, what you have to do is a little drop of baby oil and massage it in and let it soak in, which you may enjoy. We may have a bit of a ghost moment. So I'll leave that up to you. Right, let's get on with some stamping. So I'll get some magazine and copy paper. And do remember, with your Lavinia stamps, you do have the acetate with the design on. So for example here, I've turned it to the side just because I'm going to be stamping Zamira and a big stamp, so I find it easier stamping it to the side. But if I want to have a look if she'll fit on, obviously it would be no good me stamping her there, because then, oh dear, off the page, run out of room. So do have an idea in mind, and I reckon if we just stamp her there, that's going to be about right. So where have I put her? So I'm going to ink her up. I'm using the VersaFine because, again, we want that detail. And so it's the VersaFine Claire and it's the Monarch. So she's a silhouette. I'm going to stamp her in black. Lots of light tapping. Now, me being me, I've managed to get a little bit of ink on my block and round the edge. So just bear with me while spend a minute cleaning it up. It is worth cleaning it up. Some people do manage to stamp it with ink on the edge and it doesn't come onto the paper. Me being me, I don't know why. If I did that, I'd get a black edge around my design. Mind you, saying that, I have turned it into foliage when I needed the card. Now, let's just clean her up a little. Right, do check in the light that you've got plenty of ink on. She is a very big stamp, and I'm just going to line her up. Make sure she's straight, and we'll put her there. Place her down. Make sure you've always got one hand on the stamp. Don't take them both off at the same time. And again, she's a big stamp, like we've said before. Give the ink a couple of minutes to actually soak into the card. The good thing with the multifarious card, it does dry quite quickly. So even though I added water, it is quite dry. Do check it's dry before you stamp. Really, I should have probably just wafted the heat gun on it. But let's see how we do. It's not right saying probably I should have done. Certainly like being at home, isn't it? Just crafting when you think, oh, shouldn't have done that. Or, oh, I wish I'd done that. Right, let's just see how we do. There we go. Now, as you can see, missed a little bit there because I didn't dry the card. It's not a problem because all I'm going to do is take my ink pad. So you can use a Sharpie pen. I've got to be honest, I think it looks obvious when you have. So I'm just going to take a paintbrush and my ink pad, and I'm just going to fill in. That way I'm using the same ink. There's lots of reasons why she may not have stamped perfectly. My card, like I say, it wasn't dry. I should have just put the heat tool over it. So she wasn't dry enough, really. Didn't hold her down long enough. And also, it could just be, do you know what, I'm having one of those days, which I've got to be honest, I am. Eric, bless him, my Labrador, goes for his test tomorrow on his heart, and oh, it is a worry. It's amazing how these things impact on you, isn't it? Right. I think we'll call her done there. So, what I'm going to do next is ink up my next stamp. And I'm going to have him flying so he looks like he's going to eat something out of her hand. So again, just dry the side. There we go. So, oh, I told you I was having a bad day. My goodness. So I want to put him so he looks like he's just... Yeah, there we go. Let's go for that. You see, when you're at home and you drop your stamp or something doesn't stamp correctly, you think it's just you, don't you? Well, it isn't. I can guarantee you we all do it. It's like when people message me and say, my mojo's gone, what can I do, where do I start? Again, you're not the only one. It happens to all of us. We all have days where just nothing goes right. To be honest, when I have a day like that, I tend to actually go in my garden or go for a walk and then come back and start afresh. Right, let's see how he's stamping. Let's see if my day is going to get any better. Right. Oh yeah, that's lovely. So, there we go. So it looks like she's either tickling him under the chin or she's got some food in there. So we want something to stand him on. So we've got these lovely mushrooms here. And I'm thinking if I just angle it, look, where his feet are, where his hooves are, look, the mushroom fits, so he's got both feet on. If we stamped it there, I think it would almost look like he's pivoting. And for me, that I'm not keen on that. Although, he might be good. He might be a bit of a ballet dancer in his spare time. I have to say, these mushroom stamps are probably my favourites. I love them all, but these, the detail is gorgeous. So I've got to keep the mushroom so it looks like it's growing straight up. And I think if I just stamp it there, I'm just going to catch both his hooves. I'm hoping we're still in camera. I do have a tendency to just wander off and do my own thing. It's quite funny because I keep looking out of the window again. My postman Ian's due anytime soon. So if we get a knock on the door, ladies, I may just have to disappear. Right, let's have a look how that looks. There we go. So can you see, managed to get both his hooves on there. Now I think we need a couple more mushrooms there. We don't want it just to be a mushroom on its own. So ink it up and we'll have another one there. Maybe a little bit of second generation there. I know, let's put one there. And then let's go, there's the most gorgeous mini one. So let's bring that in and just have a couple of these. Maybe, do you know what I think? Actually, we didn't do this in the original, but I'm wondering if just one on this side. Let's see. I think this could just add, yeah, just adds a bit of something on that side, doesn't it? Right, put that to one side. So that's that bit of the stamping done. Now again, because we're using our permanent ink and it's got a long open time, just try and get in the habit of giving it a bit of a blot throughout all the stages. I think we'll ground her next. So a little bit of copy paper, and we're going to go for the leather. Pop it there, and just going to go right across. And I want this quite dark. I'm actually going to darken all the way around, so I don't mind it's so dark. Again, hold it where the paper is, lift from one side, check you've got everything. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So, starting to build the scene up. Next we'll add the moon. Again, remember, acetate, pop a bit of paint on it or a little mark with your Posca pen. Now, I think we're just going to pop it over the faces, over both of them. And again, I'm going back in with the leather, quite a dark colour, but I want it to be dark. Take it on to the mask and drag it off. And again, you will be able to see it shining through her hair. So let's go all the way around, and a little bit darker at the bottom because the base is always darker, the shadow down there. And remember, have a little look. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Pop that to one side. So again, you can just see how it's starting to build up. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to carry on and add the colour all the way around. I have got the stamping to do at the top, but what I'm thinking is I'll add the colour now, seeing as I've got the smoothie in my hand. So we'll pop that to one side. The fact that the ink's out, let's just add some ink all the way around. I always start on the corners, circular motions. And as you can see, we had a white border at this side, but we easily get rid of that. And I'm coming further at the corners. Again, bit of a white border at the top, we'll get rid of that. And down this side, and I'm almost following the shape of his wing there. And again, I'm just going to come round his tail. Yeah, see how that's building up so moody. Right, lid on there. Clean my mat. It's quite funny, I talk to myself like this even when I'm not filming. I think I must be mad. Well, ladies that come to my workshop, you're probably all screaming now saying, yes, we know you are. Now I'm going to come in with, look at this lovely whimsical stamp from the top, and I'm going to use the VersaFine Clair, the Monarch this time, because it's a sort of a purpley colour. And I'm just going to ink up these little twisty bits, and if we go longer at the side here, and then just won't want to catch the back of where his wing is there. Almost, I'm trying to frame it, and then I tend, for me, to do the middle one next, and then I can fill in. Now the middle one I want to just come peeping down into the moon, and then I can fill these two in. I just find, again, this little tip works for me. Rather than working my way across, I find for my eye it just works better this way for placement. So this one I'm going to put here. Don't want it the same height. I want a bit of difference in the height. Again, it just looks better to the eye. It's how things are in nature. It wouldn't look right if you had a straight line all the way. So this one, I don't want it identical. I don't want to mirror it, so I'll just take it back a little. And we'll go with that. I hope that makes sense. Can you see what I mean? You see how that just flows nicely. Now for me, I've got a lot of black stamping on here and nothing at the top, and I think it looks a bit unbalanced. So what I'm going to do is bring in a little leaf, one of the pound stamps, a little leaf stamp here, and I'm going to stamp this just a couple of times in the black. Just for me, it'll balance it up better. And if I do one just here. And I think just one more down here. Can you see how for me that just balances it more with having the black? So we'll pop that to one side. What I'm going to do now is stamp, let me find it, this lovely Spirit of Spells. So I just need to get my block. Now this, because it's the wording goes round in a circle, it's worth just spending a minute putting it on your block so we've got it the right way, and I think, yeah, that'll do. So that's the top. So I'll turn around, and this I'm going to stamp in a brown VersaFine Clair. This one's called Acorn. Again, nice light tapping. If I stamped in my colour box, it would take it too far in the background. With it having words on, I really want it so that you can see it, but it's not too obvious. So I'm going to line it up. I almost want to try and get that star in the centre. Try and go, yeah, I think that might work. As you know, I do favour the script, the sacred spells, which I love. So, but I'm trying to stop. I don't know about you, but I have favourites that I go back to again and again. And sometimes it's nice to look in my box and think, right, what haven't I used for a while? Let's use something a bit different. So this stamp's being brought out, and I just think that adds to that whole effect there. Now, what I'm going to do, I just want to add a little bit more dark around the edge just to finish off that framing. And for that, I'm going to use, I haven't got a black in the colour box. If I had, I would use that. But I'm just going to mix. I've got one of my oxides is black soot. So I'm just going to use that, and I'm literally going to blend and just come in on the very corners. Always start with the corner, and I'm just going down here, catching the edge. Circular motions. Again, ink it up on the corner, darker in the corner, and then along the side. Can you see? Let me grab a piece of copy of paper. Hopefully, can you see the difference? This is the brown side, this is the black, and it's just framing it that little bit more. What I'm trying to show you, that all these little steps are worth doing. Lots of little steps, but it's worth it in the end. So on the corner, I think we need a bit more along the bottom, and then up this side. onto the corner again, along the top, a little bit more on that corner. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Clean my mat again. So this is how we're building up so far. A few little things I'm going to do now, and that's with my pens. So I'm going to add, I've got some pens and pencils here. So silver gel pen, and I'm just going to put some silver around the moon. Also some silver in her hair. And the trains here. Now again, with this you can add as much or as little as you want. Just want to dot some silver in the stars. White gel pen, add just a couple of trails of white. I can add a little bit of highlight. And again, the highlight, add as much or as little as you want. Top of the mushrooms. And a little bit under there. Maybe a little bit of highlight on the leaves. Yeah, it really, at this stage, it's taking it as far as you want. Some people like a lot of sparkle, some people don't. If I bring the two in, the difference here, what I've added is some flicks. As you know, I'm into flicks with my Posca pen. And what I would do, this is a silver Posca pen, and I've just added some flicks on this one with my Posca pen. But what I'm thinking I might do with this one is add some of the Sprinkle It. I think it could just do with some nice sparkle. So, and then that way we can see the difference in the two. So let's go with the iridescent gold. Just get my water spritzer, give it a nice light spritzing, and add some sparkle. I told you I'd changed my mind. Again, it's just like shaking your salt and pepper. You don't need too much. And as that dries, you'll get all that sparkle on the card. There we go. So that's just the difference between that one and that one. And when this one dries, you'll just get to see all that lovely sparkle. So the new stamps released on the 4th of October. Hopefully I'll put this YouTube out a couple of days before, give you a bit of inspiration what to do with them. I hope you enjoy playing with them, and I'd love to see what you do. Remember, we've got a couple of Facebook groups, Lavinia for You and Loving All Things Lavinia. I'd love you to join them, and I'd love you to share your makes. That's all from me today. Lots of love, everybody. Bye.